Hello and welcome to lesson 30 of Learn New Testament Greek. We begin now a series of lessons on chapter 4, coming from chapter 4 of John's Gospel, the story of when Jesus met the woman from Samaria. And there'll be an introductory lesson, lesson 30. This lesson will be an introductory lesson, and then there will be 7 more lessons to cover the section of John chapter 4 from verse 5 to verse 29. There's a few more lessons than we've had in the past on a topic, and this is mostly because I'm making each of the lessons just a little bit shorter. So just to go over the content of the lessons then, that's lessons 30 to 38, taken from John chapter 4. But prior to that, lessons 27 to 29 covered John chapter 2 verse 8 to 11, the story of the wedding at Cana in Galilee and how Jesus turned the water into wine. And prior to that, lessons 24 to 26 covered John chapter 3 verse 1 to 16, the visit of Nicodemus at night to Jesus. And then before that, the lessons worked through John chapter 1. So that's a basic outline of where we've been and where we're going. And so now we begin the topic of lesson 30, which is the visit, the meeting between Jesus and the woman of Samaria. And this lesson 30 is just introductory material, and it's taken from a couple of books written by Professor E.M. Blakelock, who lived from 1904 to 1983, and he was Professor of Classics at Auckland University in New Zealand, and he wrote quite extensively on Bible topics. He had an amazing knowledge of the Bible background and a feeling for the scene, and I think nowhere better than in the case of John chapter 4, the incident of Jesus meeting the woman of Samaria. So I'm just going to read a couple of extracts from his books. At the end of the video we'll show you exactly what the books are, but let me just read these words so you can hear Blakelock's own words. He says, "The shortest of 3 possible roads to Galilee ran along the upland spine of the land through the province of Samaria. Depopulated by the Assyrians a century before Judah's fall, the area had been resettled by mixed stock, which had gradually conformed to a primitive Judaism. More active evangelization from Jerusalem might have done much to modify and reform it." And he gives a reference to 2 Kings 17, 24 to 41. But instead, Judah withdrew from her contaminated neighbors. That was their attitude. And when, after Judah's own exile and restoration, Samaria offered aid in rebuilding the temple, Ezra chapter 4, verse 1 to 3, the Jews made the rift complete by rejecting cooperation. The events recorded in Nehemiah, the book of Nehemiah, deepened hostility. So there's a little bit of background given by Blakelock. And now from another book, this one called The Bible and I by Blakelock. And it paints the scene of Jesus meeting the woman. It says, "The woman was full of bravado, but would not have been drawing her water at midday had she not been in truth too fragile to face the other women of the town. She relished this chance to insult a Jew. Indeed, presented as they were once with the opportunity to bring their faith to a sorry remnant of refugees restored by the Assyrians to Samaria, the Jews had rejected the Samaritans as unclean and spawned a hate which still endured and which the Jews had provoked. But no flame of wrath was struck from the man sitting on the well. He merely spoke a word about another water which quenches the soul's thirst. A deep well, the woman counters dryly, and it is deep, a great feat of ancient engineering. Nor do you have a dipper. How comes this living water?" Pause. One must learn to read John's narrative. Read slowly here. He simply looks at her. His look could penetrate, as they found in the temple court, as Peter too was one day to find. She cannot stand the silence and blurts, "Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well?" Slight emphasis on our and us. No answer. And drank of it himself, and his sons, and his cattle. Staccato. She can think of no more to say. He continued with more about a mysterious water of life. That was another object John had in writing. He was, it will be noted by a careful reader, setting great sayings in their context of events. His water would satisfy him. Indeed, it would turn one who drank it into a fountain of life, not a mere container like the jar on the well curb, but an overflowing spring. Awkwardly and flippant now because of her awkwardness, she rushes on. "Give me this water, sir," she says, "so that I won't thirst or keep coming here to draw." He sees the time is ripe to drive deep into her damaged personality. "Go and call your men," he says. Oddly, she cannot lie. "I haven't got one." "A true word that," he answers. "You've had 5 men, and the man you are now living with is not yours. Yes, you told the truth." A blow to the heart. She rallies and sets out to flaunt a theological argument about Jewish and Samaritan claims to possess the holy place. Who's right? He brushes it all aside. God is spirit, unbound by time and locality. She tries to end the conversation. "Oh well, the Messiah will settle it." "I am the Messiah," he says. Can anyone doubt the authenticity of this conversation? So there we have it, very interesting comments by Blakelock that introduce for us the fascinating story of Jesus' interaction with this woman of Samaria at a well on a hot midday, one day so long ago in Samaria. These are the 2 books by Blakelock that I read from. So the man's name is E.M. Blakelock, and the first book is The Bible and I, a spiritual autobiography, and the other is a 1-volume commentary on the New Testament.